In the Game Boy Advance title Boktai, the player enters the time and their location before assuming the role of the hero, Django. His weapon fires bolts of energy at various undead enemies. Now, why would parents approve of the game's special feature? I'll say it again. In the Game Boy Advance title Boktai, the player enters the time and their location before assuming the role of the hero Django. His weapon fires bolts of energy at various undead enemies. But why would parents approve of the game's special feature?
I feel like I don't actually know this, but I feel like I've got a pretty good guess.
Are we all going to take a guess at this and just see?
Melissa, do you have a pretty good guess, or are you confused?
I'm 50% there, but I'm not 100% there. I feel like I'm just going to
How many of you are gamers? How many of you owned a Game Boy Advance?
Absolutely.
I didn't own a Game Boy Advance.
I had a Game Boy Advanced SP,
That sounds...
which was backlit, whereas the Game Boy Advance was not. So I was cooler.
I feel like the first note on Sabrina's question card is going to be, it's not anything to do with making sure that they're in bed by like a certain hour, and it like locks it to that time. But I feel like Taha and Melissa are both going, yeah, that's it.
I think it's to keep track of night and day, because they don't want kids playing an undead game in scary hours.
I'll say this. It doesn't have that extreme of narc energy to it. But you're on the right track.
Okay, here's my other theory. I think it is that it's kind of like a Tamagotchi in that the undead only spawn/roam at night, which means they don't play at school. Why'd
you go with Tamagotchi instead of Minecraft?
Yeah, I'm saying it's connected to the day and night cycle. Like they go to sleep at night and they are awake in the day, in the same way that the zombies are only roaming at night. And so they don't play Game Boy during school hours. Maybe it's the opposite.
I feel like you're getting further. You're getting colder. You're going deeper into the night. You might be focusing on the wrong time.
Does it have like narc adjacent energy, or
it does have narc adjacent energy? Like, what do parents say when their kids are being little gamers, little Game Boys?
Dinner is ready, and then the kid's like, I gotta finish my level, and I'm like, dinner's getting cold. And they're like,
You are on the right track with the fact that like the game has a reason for wanting to know the time and location.
And
it has something to do with
I
think that means it's connected to the sunrise and sunset.
Oh.
Maybe there was a really nice sunset in the game, and you get to look at it, and that's why the parents are
yes,
happy.
this is good for
the game
kids.
refuses to turn on that backlight after night, so you don't end up staring at it under the covers and just again.
You've gone too deep into the narc field there, Tom.
I have a question.
Oh,
the game only works during twilight.
Why are you choosing such specific times of day? Okay,
I don't know.
So I think you guys are on the right track with thinking about daylight. I think that, it's narc adjacent. The parents are they're trying to encourage parents to buy this for their kids. This is like a perk of the feature, but it doesn't have to do anything with going into the night. It's not locking things off. I think it's worth remembering like this part of the question where like the nature of his weapon, it fires bolts of energy at undead enemies. Now what does that make you think of?
Bolts of energy.
Big flashes of light. Noises.
I went in a weird space.
Go chase it.
I was thinking about how cereal in the morning gives you energy. What if it reminds your kids to eat breakfast in the morning?
It does come from a place of care. I'll say that.
Oh,
okay. What are the things of care? You need sleep. You need food. You need exercise. You need a 12-step skincare routine. What else do you need?
I just made a video about it, Taha. What was the thing?
I know. I don't know what else you would need.
Okay, here's a little hint. How were games distributed for the Game Boy Advance?
Cartridges.
There might have been something a little bit special about those cartridges.
Glow in the dark. There were glow-in-the-dark cartridges.
There were also other things. I remember that there was the one for Guitar Hero, where it had little buttons on it. There are other things that might have to do with the time of day.
There was a light meter. And you could only play it in the light.
Keep going. What would a child want to do?
Play it under the covers at night, trying to grind Pokemon at night.
What if there's a light meter?
Then you can't. Then you have to use a flashlight, and then the jig is up.
What if a child isn't smart enough to use a flashlight? What if the Earth had a natural flashlight?
Well, you can only play it in the sun.
Time of day.
You can only play it in the sun. I feel like this is obvious now. I feel like it's the thing came with a light meter, and you could only play it in the sun, and that was good because then the parents are confident that they're not playing this game at night.
Why are parents approving of that?
But
Because
why
you
does
can't
that
play it at night.
matter?
I'm so
You
sorry.
have to go outside. You have to
Yes!
go outside to play
This
it.
was the most internet kid indoor people.
It's the wrong
challenge
way round.
on
They're not.
Earth.
They're not
Games
tracking-
outside.
That's the point. We're trying to get the kids to game outside. It's
Dang.
Pokemon go to the polls. You know what I mean?
I hate it. What a silly idea. You just play it next to the window. Like everyone's going to sit on their windowsill and just play it.
The moment that you were like, oh no, it always has to be at night under the covers, I was like, this is the wrong audience. They have never once considered going outside.
So if the game knows that it should be light outside, does it? It can't like refuse to play. Like, what was the energy weapon about?
Charge the energy weapon.
There we go.
You've
power
got
up.
an in real life solar panel for your internal game. That's kind of fun.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
really
That's
clever.
cool.
Yeah, so the Game Boy Advance games, they were released on cartridges, and Boktai's cartridge included a light sensor, which influenced how difficult the game was to play. Now, the game's full title was Boktai, The Sun is in Your Hand, which is so good.
That is good.
And if the game was played in direct sunlight, Django's solar weapons, they would charge up. So during the evening hours, the player would have to avoid enemies because their gun ran out of battery. In addition, vampires would not appear during daylight hours. So you were right, kind of, about like, oh no, the Tamagotchi zombies, they're gonna get you. And some indoor levels had skylights, which could only be discovered in the daytime. It was released for the Game Boy Advance in like 2003, and Boktai received 36 out of 40 from the Famitsu magazine. So it's a good game. I'd take it. Pokemon go to the polls.